Good morning and welcome back in the session of conflict management. How to manage the conflict at workplace, a very challenging thing. But do you know that some conflicts are very good? Some conflicts are so good that if they happen, then they always result in delivering something good, something positive, and they are known as positive conflicts. So basically, if we talk about conflicts at the workplace, we can say if the discussion is healthy, if it is giving good suggestions, that conflict is known as healthy conflict. And for the smooth working of the organization, for the success of the organization, growth of the organization, for having some uh, creative solutions for the problems in the organization, conflicts are good. It sounds quite strange to listen to this, no? How conflicts can be good. But yes, conflicts are good if they are in the good fate of the company. If they are delivering good results for the company, then yes, conflicts in the organization are good. And those conflicts are either known as positive conflicts or healthy conflicts or functional conflict. So basically, we were discussing about the functional and the difunctional conflicts. In the last session, we've discussed about what is functional conflict. So if I ask you about what is functional conflict, then what do you know? What have you understood by the word functional conflict? So basically, when we talk about functional conflict is a very healthy, constructive disagreement between groups and individuals. So you might be thinking that how a conflict, which is a conflict, can be constructive. How a disagreement can be constructive. But yes, conflict, when we talk about functional conflict, they are constructive and they are, so they are disagreement among the group and the team members, but still they deliver constructive feedback, they deliver constructive result. They're not something which are going to harm the organization or the team members, but it is a strong disagreement where you will see that you are getting good result. The effect of those conflict on the organization, individual, or the group is very good. These type of conflicts are used to solve the problems related to individual and groups. These are those conflicts. They help to solve the problems, and that is why we say that functional conflicts are the healthy conflicts. They are the constructive conflicts. They always deliver the best results. Today we are going to start with the difunctional conflict. Now, what do you think? What are the difunctional conflicts? Difunctional conflict is known as destructive conflict, as functional conflict is known as constructive conflict because they deliver the constructive result. They deliver the good result. The discussion always comes up with some kind of solution, a healthy solution. But when we are talking about the difunctional conflict, it is destructive. It disturbs the organization. It creates lots of problem within the organization. So basically, when we are talking about destruction means scattering everything. Strong disagreements where people are not ready to compromise. It brings negative effect in the organization. So when we talk about difunctional conflict, so basically difunctional conflict are the destructive conflicts. They are completely opposite. Such conflict has negative effect on individual, group, organizational level. So these type of conflicts have negative effect on individual. these conflicts doesn't have any positive effect either on the team or the organization or the individual. The results which we get from these type of conflicts are very negative. The effect might be diverting energies, hurting group cohesion, promoting individual hostility, and creating negative working environment. So the effect, this dysfunctional conflict, this has very bad effect on the minds of the individual. Like these may result in diverting energies, the productivity of the employees may come down, may slower down even the group cohesion. Groups may get hurt. They may promote interpersonal hostilities, all these things, and along with that, creating a very negative environment. And in negative environment, we know that people cannot deliver their best. They cannot give their best results when it comes to destructive conflict, dysfunctional conflict. So make sure as soon as this dysfunctional conflict, you sense this dysfunctional conflict, you simply just avoid, you simply try to resolve that as soon as possible, because these dysfunctional conflicts will result in destruction within the organization, creating a negative impact, negative working environment where people won't be able to work with their 100% efficiency, delivering their best result. So this dysfunctional conflict not just impact the interpersonal hostilities or the interpersonal relation, but it also impact the working of the employees. It also decreases the productivity, the surrounding becomes negative, the achievement of the goal can also be delayed. So it is very clear that these dysfunctional conflicts have negative effect not among the individual which are involved in the conflict, but for the entire organization, but for the entire group. So here, these conflict, as soon as we just smell, the leaders need to, as soon as they just smell about this conflict, they need to make sure that yes, they are trying their best to resolve this conflict. Employees become dissatisfied with the working environment, and as a result, absenteeism will increase and productivity will decline. So negative environment, negative working place. No employee will be willing to work in the negative working environment where it's negativity everywhere. So whenever there's a dysfunctional conflict, try to resolve that conflict as soon as possible, so that the environment doesn't become negative. You do not have dissatisfied employees and the productivity is not declined. Now, dysfunctional effect of rising conflict. Now, what are the effects of rising conflict? These include increasing conflict will result in delay in meeting schedules. Like if dysfunctional conflicts are there, what effect it is going to bring in the working of the organization, in the working environment of the organization. First effect is increasing conflict will result in delays in meeting schedules, decrease in quality of goods and services, and finally will increase customer complaint. So how it is getting affected is when we are talking about the dysfunctional conflict, when the people will have conflict, they won't be willing to work together. They won't be in a stage where they are talking to each other, they are working, they are willing, the willingness of working together, willingness of getting connected, that thing will not be there, and ultimately it is going to affect the organization. It is going to affect the productivity, because see, delay in schedules, quality decrease. Along with that, the meetings, the meetings which were supposed to be held at a specific time, that is not getting done. Why? Because people are not ready to work. People are not ready to come together and work. This happens whenever people are into the conflict. They have conflict with each other. They simply avoid working together. They find out the reason where they can just save themselves from working together, and that is the effect of negative effect of dysfunctional conflict in the workplace. So as soon as a person get to know that there is dysfunctional conflict, the conflict is arising, and this is not the healthy conflict, this is the negative conflict, destructive conflict. So it is always better that people start taking, the leaders start taking necessary steps to prevent that conflict at workplace. Yes. Next is, it is undesirable if it creates a climate of distrust and suspension among people. If some people feel are defeated and demanded, and it develops antagonism instead of spirit of cooperation. People start feeling, oh, that we are not being demanded, we are not being considered. So that negative feelings start coming in the mind of the people, and that negative feeling will not allow people to work together, to cooperate with each other and come up with the best results. So it is undesirable if it, it is not undesirable. It is for sure that negative environment will always bring negativity in the people. People will start getting different negative feelings, like feeling of getting defeated, feeling of getting demanded. And instead of working together as a team, building the team, giving their best, having coordination, cooperation among themselves, they will just work as an individual person, and this will affect the productivity of the organization as well as the productivity of the team, because a single person by his efforts cannot achieve the goal. Next is, in the absence of smooth communication at workplace, there will be problems in coordinating activities also. Now, dysfunctional conflict, people will not be in a mood, they will not be willing to talk to each other, the communication will stop, feedback will stop. It's going to be silence in the organization, and this will create a problem in coordinating. People will start assuming things themselves. They're not going to clarify those things with each other, because they are having conflict. They are not ready to talk. They think that if we are going to go and talk to other person, what he or she is going to think. So here, in the absence of that, the smooth communication, communication is not going to be smooth. People is not going to coordinate their activity, and ultimately the results of the organization, the work of the organization, the productivity efficiency of the organization will be at stake. People starts to divert themselves from the real work schedule and keep less interest and show less energy, and this will ultimately affect the achievement of the organizational goal. So then, we all know that negativity is not at all good. Even if negativity is at workplace or it's individual negativity, it's within us. Whichever negativity we have, it is not good for the organization, because this negativity will pull the people from working, will pull the people from their work schedule, will decrease their interest, will decrease their energy, efficiency, productivity, and ultimately the organization won't be able to achieve the desired results, desired goals of the organization. The increasing negativity emotions workplace can be quite stressful. Yes, it's going to be, people want to get relief and they will have tension, they'll have conflicts at the workplace. They won't be talking to each other, they'll be just coming, working, and going. So, this environment will create stress for them. They'll have no one to share about their day, to talk about their day, to feel relief. So, increasing negative environment at workplace is going to be quite stressful for all the employees. It's not going to be just between two individuals, because conflict starts with two-person, but slowly groupism happens. People start pointing towards each other for every small thing, for each and everything. They start complaining, they start criticizing, they start pointing out, they start blaming each other for each and everything. And this is going to create a stressful working environment for all the people. If we hear one loud voice at the workplace, entire organization, all the employees will be effective. So same way, it is very important that as soon as people get to know about this dysfunctional conflict, the leader should take immediate step to solve this. And conflict does not lead to solution of a problem, it is unproductive, and investment of time and efforts goes in waste. So see, when the people are involved, when people are being the part of this conflict, you need to make sure that you are delivering the positive results, you are delivering productivity. Because if productivity is not there, if solution is not there, the entire time, energy, human resource, efforts, everything will go in vain. It is a complete waste if we do not have a solution to any of the problem. So that's why in dysfunctional conflict, when people are not ready to listen to each other, it is a waste of time, which many times the employee does just by fighting for the small things. As a consequence of conflict, it may neglect overall organizational goals, and it is seriously harmful if it distracts attention from basic organizational objective and make people work for their defeat. Now here, what will happen? Instead of people working for the organizational objective, people start working for the defeat which they have got. They start working that how they are going to win, how they are going to make other person defeat, and that becomes their ultimate goal, ultimate objective, and the organizational objective is taken as a secondary one. They do not work towards the organizational objective. Instead, they put up whole of their energy, whole of their effort to make other person defeat, to make other person lose, and that is what for which they will be dedicatedly working. It pours oil over troubled waters, exploit difference or to strengthen itself, and weaken others, and accept resolution capable of different interpretation. So everything, this dysfunctional conflict is something which will put everything on stake. It's not only about the individual, it is not only about the people who are working, it is about each and every person who is involved in decision making, who is involved, who is the part of the organization. Each and every person will be affected by the decision, by the conflicts among the two individuals. It is not just about one person who is getting affected, one person who is losing the interest. No, it is about each and every person, because of whom the things are going, because of whom people are suffering. Can you work in the environment where people, let's say not all, but only 2-3 people are always fighting with each other? Can you work in that atmosphere? No. We want to work in a peaceful environment where there is peace, where people are not fighting with each other, they are standing by each other. Together, they are delivering the result. And whenever these kind of things come together, they are finding the solution. Conflicts are quite common whenever two different individuals, I'm not talking about many people, I'm just talking about whenever two different individuals come together to work. Don't you think they are going to come up with the conflicts? Because see, people views are never going to match. Each individual will have their own individual views, and when the views are different, it's okay if people just fight with each other, but make sure the fight, the conflict doesn't last long, and they come up with the best result, best solution, which will ultimately help them to deliver the best result. And that is what the leaders have to make sure, that this dysfunctional conflict is changed to the functional conflict, and it also becomes positive rather than delivering the negative results. Now, the next thing we will be discussing about the dysfunctional aspect of the conflict are visualized in following ways. How you see this dysfunctional aspects, how you see this dysfunctional conflict in the workplace within the organization. The first one is high employee turnover. One way by which you can identify this conflict at workplace is the high employee turnover. As the word says, high employee turnover means the frequency of the people leaving the organization is very high. There are quite frequent recruitments, people leaving the organization, people moving towards the people thinking about quitting the job as soon as they find other opportunity. So this is the one of the reasons by which you can visualize about this dysfunctional conflict. So high employee turnover means in case of extra-individual, in case of intra-individual or inter-individual conflicts, some dynamic personnel may leave the organization if they fail to resolve the conflict in their favor. So here, it is a kind of ego problem which persons have got, that if I'm unable to get the solution in my favor, I'm not going to work in this organization. So basically, on basis of their personal choice, their personal interest, their personal ego, they decide to leave the organization just because things didn't went in their favor. In this case, organization will be sufferer in the long run due to loss of key person. You know how organizations suffer if employee turnover is high? The organization suffers because due to this high employee turnover, it incurs additional cost for the organization to train the employees, to make the employees understand the goal, vision, mission of the organization. So if people are frequently leaving the organization, organization has to give extra time, first for recruiting, for finding the talent, second for training the person, third to make him understand what work he has to do, from where he has to start, and it takes a lot of time. Let's say it takes almost 4 months for a person to settle down in the job, and in next 2 months he simply quits the job. So that entire 4 months he has not delivered anything. Okay, it was an additional cost which we were bearing, which the organization was bearing on that individual which he has hired. And if in just 2 months, if he leaves, he quits the organization, the entire amount invested on that person goes in vain. The organization doesn't get any return for the investment which the organization has done. So in this case, whenever there is inter-individual, intra-individual conflicts among the workplace, at the workplace, and if people feel that things are not going as per their way, things are not in their favor, they simply think of quitting the organization, which in turn gives a huge loss for the organization. The loss is not just in terms of the person, human resource which the organization has lost, but in terms of the expenditure, the financial part which the organization has invested in training that individual. So we are going to see in long run, it is going to make organization bear huge losses because of this. Because see, here when the this conflict occurs, a person whose needs are not satisfied, the person who doesn't get the things resolved in his favor, he will leave. But other person, there is no surety that other person in whose favor the results were delivered, that is going to stay in the organization. Maybe he is not satisfied with the result, though they were in favor, but that were not what he was expecting, so he might also quit. So this way, if people keep on quitting the organization, just think who is going to look for the work, who is going to work towards the growth of the organization. Half of the time will just go in solving the conflict or hiring the new employees, training the new employees. Second thing is, it is going to increase the tension at workplace. First was the higher employee turnover, which is very bad. And you know, this tension in the workplace, the unhealthy working environment will again lead to the higher employee turnover. So no matter what effect we get from the dysfunctional conflict, the risk of losing the employees will always be there. Conflicts can cause high level of tension among the individuals and groups, and it becomes difficult for the management to resolve the conflict. You know, these dysfunctional conflicts need special attention and should be solved as soon as the people see they are evolving. Because once they have taken a drastic look, once they have reached a stage where it is all about satisfying their ego, now their management also cannot resolve the conflict, making both the parties into win-win situation, which will ultimately make the organization well. In that situation, when this tension has started arising between the individual and it has taken a drastic look, at that point of time, the organization will ultimately lose one of the best employees, just because due to the tension, the employee is not willing to work in the organization anymore. So conflict can cause high level of tension, which can result in the high employee turnover also. This will result in anxiety, frustration, uncertainties, and hostility among the members. So this will, due to this, the frustration, uncertainties will start evolving, and no employee wants to work in the organization, which gives them frustration, which makes them anxious, and which makes them live with stress. You know, with stressful mind, tense mind, frustrated mind, you cannot speak, you cannot deliver the best results. So make sure that you stop creating this tension-worthy environment in the organization. Next point is dissatisfaction. Conflict will result in discontentment to losing parties, who will wait for an opportunity to settle the score with the winning party. You know, here dissatisfied employee, what they'll be willing, that if they have lose that conflict, if they have not got the results in their favor, they will just try to find out the opportunities to settle that score. You know, they start having that scoreboard, okay, 1-on-1, 1-0. So they'll just try to find out get the situation where they can attack that winning party. And ultimately, by doing this, they're not focused on working for the organization. They're just focused that how we are going to take the revenge, how I'm going to hurt, or how I'm going to win the argument with the party which earlier won the argument. The things which were favor in that, which went into the favor of that party, how I'm going to get back those things in my favor. So when your mind is running that way, can you put your focus, your emphasis on doing your task, on achieving the goals of the organization? No. The conflict will result in discontentment to losing party, and who will wait for an opportunity to settle the scores. All the tussle will result in less concentration on the job, and as a result, the productivity will suffer. That's what we have discussed, that dissatisfied employees cannot give their best productivity. To get the best productivity, to deliver the best result, it is important that you are surrounded by a good, healthy, and positive working environment. Good, healthy, and positive working environment is the only way by which you can deliver the best results. You'll have dissatisfied employees. If you have tense employees, frustrated employees, they won't give their best productivity. The productivity will suffer, organizational goals will suffer, and even the organization will suffer because they might have to lose their valuable employees. Next is the climate of distrust. Do you think the climate of distrust can build team building, can help the people to work together as a team? No. People cannot work together until and unless they do not trust each other. They do not have the environment of trust among themselves. So it creates a climate of distrust, and the concrete people will have negative feelings towards each other and try to avoid interaction with each other. You know, the surrounding where people are not interacting with each other, they have negative feelings towards each other. They cannot work together to deliver or to achieve the goals of the organization. So here, when the climate of distrust is being created, then yes, people will start having negative feeling. Now, each and every person will have negative feeling about for other person, which will ultimately stop the employees from creating a friendly environment, from developing a bond among each other, and from working together to achieve the common goals of the organization. You know, as we all know that a single person cannot build the empire. It is the group efforts, the efforts of the team, the effort of the group, which together work for the same common goal and ultimately deliver the best result. So when you will have this climate of distrust, you won't be able to have that atmosphere where people are working effectively, delivering positive results, because no one is willing to work with each other. So here again, you need to focus that yes, this climate of distrust is not created, because again, it is going to lead to high turnover. Next is personal versus organizational goals. Now, conflict may distract the attention of the members, and they may start working towards their personal goal. They may waste their time and energy in finding ways and tactics to come out as a winner in the conflict. So here they are not focusing on delivering their result. They are just focusing on how I'm going to win the situation, how I am going to be the winner now. So their entire energy, entire mind, entire knowledge, skills, everything is working in the negative zone. They're not working for anything productive or positive for the organization. Doing this will ultimately affect the goals of the organization, because here it's their personal goal to defeat that person. So here they're working for their personal goal. They are not working for the organizational goal for which they are hired. Personal victory becomes more important than the organizational goal. You know, your personal victory, to win that situation, to win that person, becomes your topmost priority, rather than delivering the best result for the organization rather than achieving your goals, achieving the goals of the organization, achieving the objective of the organization. So here you are just focused on your personal victory. For you now, your job, your task, your priority, nothing matters. Everything which matters is your personal revenge, your personal victory, you winning over that person. So next, the last reason is conflict as a cause. Yes, the conflict may weaken the organization as a whole, and if the management is not able to handle them properly, so it will weaken the organization, because when your experienced employees, when your trained employees keep on quitting the organization, the management won't be able to get the work done, because every time a new person is hired, he is going to start from zero. Now training that person again, making him understand the work again, it is again a very lengthy process, and which will require a lot of time and cost. So this is ultimately going to weaken the organization, and it will be very difficult even for the management to handle them properly. If the management does not interfere in the early stage, unnecessary troubles may invite at the later stage. So make sure the management is taking the steps at the early stage. So if the management does not interfere, does not sense that conflict at early stage, it will ultimately create unnecessary troubles for the organization, and it will affect the working of the organization. As we have discussed, that functional conflict always have a positive effect on the mind of the people, even for the organization and as well as for the group. But this direct functional conflict, this creates negativity in the surrounding. This creates the negative environment and ultimately delivers the negative results for the organization. And this may even cost you a lot. These conflicts, this negative conflicts, the dysfunctional conflict may weaken the organization, because the first and the foremost strength of the organization is the employees. It's not the management, it's not the financial stability, it is the employees, the human resource who are working into the organization. They are the strongest pillar, they are the strength of the organization. And when that strength is just fighting with each other, when that strength is busy solving or busy satisfying their ego, no organization can survive. So here, as soon as the manager, the leaders sense this dysfunctional conflict, the negative conflict evolving among the team members, among the individual, or among the groups, they need to take immediate steps to stop them right there. That is the only way by which you can strengthen your organization and you can make your employees productive. You can reduce the cost by retaining the employees in the organization, by giving them a positive environment, conflict-free environment, this dysfunctional conflict-free. Okay, functional conflict is always good, it is always positive. So with this, we have finished with the dysfunctional aspect of conflict as well as what is dysfunctional conflict. Now in the next session, we will be discussing about the effects of functional and dysfunctional conflict. So basically, functional conflict will have positive effect and dysfunctional conflict will have negative effect. That we are going to do in the next session. Ankana, any doubt in this, dear? Any doubts, Ankana? Okay, okay, dear. Okay, so we are done with the session. We'll have the next session at 11:40. Right? Okay, then bye bye.